Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, and this is Thursday Morning Live. Glad that you are here this morning. I hope whatever you're doing it with intention and direction and trying to move the ball forward for yourself, so to say. Hey, if you're new to the show, thanks for being here this morning. I don't know if somebody invited you, told you about it, or you just saw it on social media. But if you did just see it on social media, if you would like us, love us, we appreciate the support. And if you are on YouTube this morning, please smash the subscribe button and follow us for relevant content in whatever you're doing. If you are on Facebook and you are in the real estate or multifamily space, join our community at Multifamily Unplugged, where we're always bringing out good content every day, helping you grow, learn, and encouraging you to take action in what you're doing. Hey, I am excited this morning. I talked about intentions a minute ago, and I think in everything that we do, we need to be intentional about it, right? When you get up in the morning and you have that morning time, whatever that may be for you, whether you're going to the gym or working out at home or whether you're praying or meditating or all of it, right? Getting connected with the day, planning your day, taking action to move forward. I think that our intentions ultimately lead us to where we want to get. And the more intentional we are about that activity, the better results that we achieve from that. Hey, my guest this morning, I am super excited. Longtime friend, Roy Kessel from the Chicago area. Roy has a company called Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're going to talk about giving back here this morning. So let me bring Roy in. Hey, Roy, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Good to see you. It Now that we got that little technical issue straightened out, the camera's better and the picture's better. So yeah,
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share our work from Sports Philanthropy Network.
awesome. Hey, I told you a couple minutes ago I moved to the West Coast, and I'm just kind of curious this morning. What's the weather like in Chicago?
Oh, it was a beautiful 45 when I woke up this morning, and I think we're going to get into the mid 50s. So not quite as nice as California.
Yeah, spring is coming though, right?
We're
So
getting there.
yeah. Hey, I always start my show with that one question. In one word, Roy, what best describes you personally and professionally?
One word, that's tough. I think energetic.
Hmm, energetic. Do you think that that's something you've always been, always energetic?
Yeah, I think that we've had a lot of energy in what we're doing and using that passion and mentality of giving back to the world is something that's always been a focus from a very young age. Even something that I inherited from both of my parents.
Nice. That's awesome. Why don't you talk a little bit about your background, who you are, and what Sports Philanthropy Network is?
Sure. Well, we'll run through the background really quickly. My parents are originally from South Africa and left in the early 60s before it was fashionable to be anti apartheid and moved to Israel, which is where I was born at Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. Um, their plan was always to stay there, and my dad had a vision, crazy by mid 1960s standards, of being able to irrigate the desert and grow crops not only for Israel but for a lot of the continent of Africa, that where he had seen a lot of food insecurity over the course of time, and then was given the opportunity to get his PhD with choices of going to either Berkeley or Madison, and somehow they selected Madison, which is where I grew up. And he was getting his PhD at the University of Wisconsin with a plan to go back to Israel. And then my younger sister Sharon was born, and she's developmentally disabled. And so that kind of flipped plans up on their head in terms of the resources at that time in Israel, which was still a fairly young country, only 20 years old. So a little bit of tug of war of where to be, and we went back to Israel for a couple years, sixth grade and seventh grade for me. But basically grew up in Madison, went to the University of Wisconsin undergrad in finance and marketing, and then moved down to Chicago in 1988 for law school at Northwestern, and have been Chicago area since. Love the city, love the community, and amazing opportunities here, both in from a business side, from a nonprofit side, and being able to work to give back.
So, giving back, and when I posted this out there this morning, I said, hey, we're going to talk about giving back. What is Sports Philanthropy Network? What do what's your mission and your focus?
Yeah, Sports Philanthropy Network is a nonprofit, and our mission is to create social impact through sports. And the way that
Mm,
we do that is really by creating collaborations and building what we call the pipeline of philanthropy. So, the pipeline of philanthropy brings together athletes and their foundations, community sports nonprofits, and then larger sports organizations like teams, leagues, governing bodies. Um, that can work together to make an impact in their community. Historically, what we've seen far too much of is what what we typically call window dressing philanthropy, where the athletes are led to believe that their best use in the community is four things: taking pictures with people, signing autographs, playing in golf outings, and going to fundraising dinners. And for these individuals that are so highly accomplished, that's really a disservice both to their ability and to their heart and their intent of what they want to accomplish. And so our goal is to help work with these organizations to look at where can they truly make an impact, right? Because just showing up and handing out autograph pictures doesn't change a kid's life, right? There's so many
mm,
ways that these athletes can serve as role models. um, we often only hear the negative stories, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of amazing stories of athletes that have gone and worked in communities, worked in schools, worked in park districts with the kids and really help them keep their life on track. Mike, as you know, in Chicago, there's a huge problem with gangs and drugs and violence. Um, Having athletes come and be part of a program in the community really adds a layer of accountability for the kids because they now feel that they're connected to this athlete. And from an athlete perspective, they also feel that obligation, right? They know that they don't want to screw up and they don't want to be that person that has thousands of kids looking up to them when they got arrested for a DUI or for some other altercation. They recognize the impact that they have on these lives.
nice. God, what a great mission. So, are you working with existing kids on sports programs, or are you going into communities and maybe inner cities and starting sports programs and then bringing professional athletes together with them, or how's that flow work?
Sure. So I'll give you a few examples. So typically, we're not the ones that are operating the grassroots program. There are a lot of programs out there that already do amazing work. Where we've seen the need and the opportunity to amplify what's going on is giving them more exposure, helping find collaborative partners that can expand the programs that they're doing, and running a lot of education and professional development programming. As we speak right now, our New York chapter is holding a Sports Philanthropy Academy event where they've brought in about 50 nonprofit organizations and a series of trainers that are going to help those organizations in nonprofit wording build their capacity, grow their organizations, and understand what else they can do to grow and develop. Frequently in the nonprofit space, what we see is the people who have started an organization started it because of their passion for the particular sport that they're using, right? Whether that's soccer, baseball, basketball, football, doesn't matter. We've seen everything from stand-up paddleboarding to beach volleyball to ultimate frisbee, right?
Hmm.
There's incredible organizations that are out there. Our goal is to look at how can we elevate this whole ecosystem, the whole sports philanthropy sector, to make it more powerful, more impactful. And so we talked about building that pipeline of philanthropy, just like we have the internet now. How can we create a ecosystem that somebody can plug into without needing to start from scratch? So as they develop a financial literacy program, STEM education, leadership, instead of having to go city by city, org by org to find their audience, that's what we're doing. We've developed this model with our chapters. We have over 20 chapters right now around the country. And the focus for us is looking at where can we support the growth of these organizations? What other resources do they need? What other contacts do they need? Individuals such as yourself that are uh, love being around sports, love to give back to their community. This is a fun way that they can be involved with something, but still they can recognize the tangible impact that makes on young lives.
God, what a great mission. Any any specific market you work in, or is this just Chicago, or what's your
It,
reach?
it,
Are you ready to skyrocket your investment portfolio and leave a legacy? Are you tired of inconsistent returns received in the stock market? Do you think that it may be time you take a look at alternative investment options? Passive investing in multifamily real estate could just be that option for you. With no tenants, trash, or toilets to take care of, but providing a solid return on an annual basis that outperforms traditional investing, including monthly and quarterly returns along the way. These lower risk, secure assets are a sure hedge against inflation. If you want to learn more about these types of opportunities, you can email me directly for a 15-minute consultation to see if you qualify. Just email me at mike@mikemorowski.com.
yeah, it's interesting. We started, obviously I'm based in Chicago, but the goal was always to be an international organization. So we
Mm,
launched just before COVID. We held a conference 6 months after we launched the organization and had 120 organizations attend in person in Chicago. But interestingly, we had requests for information from 87 countries around the world of people that wanted to be part of this network. COVID obviously restricted our ability to do in-person programming, but we launched a whole array of webinars and online programming virtually during those COVID years. Last year, we started opening chapters in different markets around the country. We now have 20 open so far, and we expect to be 30 to 40 by the end of this calendar year. And the international chapters continue to push us of wanting to be in. And so, fourth quarter of this year, we're likely to get the start of the international programming. You know, obviously, Canada's right here, UK, Israel, Germany, Ireland, a lot of different countries that have already uh, solidified a base of people that want to be active in that marketplace.
well, very cool. Hey, so you mentioned something a couple of minutes ago about, usually somebody starts a nonprofit because it's something close to their heart, and you may remember years ago I had a nonprofit that we served the homeless community in Chicago, and we were partnered with a couple of other organizations. But what about you? I want to know what made you go in this direction, because I know that you come from the business world, and we're for profit previously, but why? What happened? What got you going in this direction?
Well, interestingly, as we talked, I've been involved in nonprofit and community organizations most of my life. Sports has always been my passion. Growing up in Madison, we grew up across from an elementary school that had two tennis courts and a backboard. So the backboard was my training partner because it was there 24/7. I could go out anytime I want and kick or throw or hit a ball against the backboard. So sports has always been one of my top passions. My mom teases me about somehow I got lost and took a detour to law school, based on some classes I had in high school. But sports was always where I wanted to go after. I practiced in firms for 7 years. I went off on my own because I wanted to do sports agency work until I got in there and realized that the vision of what I thought a sports agent should be was very different from the vision of what the uh, marketplace dictated and what the kids coming out of college wanted, which was someone to pay for their training for the combine and give them a house and a car and a line of credit. And they weren't really looking ahead to their future, right? They were focused on, understandably, on the here and now. I need to make a football team in order to get paid. That's my number one priority. Everything else gets pushed to the background. And even with foundations, we've seen a lot of athletes um, given bad advice where they're told that they need to have a foundation. Somebody sets one up for them and expects the athlete to just know by osmosis how to operate the foundation. That's a big ask for somebody who's 22 to 25 years old that's never run a business right in that capacity. And I think the other misleading part for the athletes is there's dozens and dozens of ways to give back. There's more efficient formats for them to give back than to have their own foundation. And if you
Mm,
don't invest heavily into your foundation in terms of creating a brand and really building it up while you're playing, um, absent being a megastar, right, like a Tiger Woods or a Tom Brady or something at that level, it's really hard to start a foundation after your career is done. And even if you do, that's not going to be paying you seven figures like you're used to making as an athlete.
yeah, interesting. And now, what was interesting is you said you grew up playing sports, and I think kids today, I remember being a kid, and we would leave the house on Saturday mornings in the summer, or any weekday in the summer, and we'd go over to the shopping center and play. Three of us would play fast pitch in the parking lot of the uh, grocery store, and kids don't do that today. You
Yeah,
don't
with the
see
brick wall as your catcher
right,
so the ball doesn't
right,
go running all the way down the parking lot.
right, with a rubber ball, fast pitch, and but kids don't do that stuff today. And so, how do are there things that your group does to get kids more engaged in that, and what engages kids today to want to be, to pursue that route, the sports route?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges in that space today. As you mentioned, you used the word play as it relates to sports. And the play element has really gotten lost to a large respect.
Mm,
Much of what goes on now is competition and a lot of sports specialization, which all of the research and studies shows bad, both from a physical standpoint and a mental health standpoint. Kids get their entire identity wrapped up in one sport. And if, as they grow and develop from the age of 8 to 10 to 12 to 14, that sport doesn't become right either their passion or where their true talent lies, right, they feel defeated. I played most sports growing up and played most things well into my 50s, and it was always about playing sports. I was never necessarily the best at any single one of the sports, but I was good at many different sports and enjoyed that. Today, kids are being told to pick a sport by the time they're 8 years old, which is ludicrous. And the other aspect is really the skyrocketing cost of participating in sports, right? As you mentioned,
mm,
when we were kids, like somebody would have a bat, you'd have a couple gloves, people would share gloves, you would move around, you would do all kinds of things. And it was a great way to be active. Like you said, we'd come home from school, would dump our books, grab a snack, go across to the fields, and everybody's outside playing until somebody's mom, in those days it was typically the mom, now could be either parent, right, opened up the door and yelled dinner time, and everybody would go scattering across the field. The costs are so high. The research shows just an astronomical level of kids giving up sports before the age of 12. And I think that the harm is from a health perspective and an activity level perspective, that
mm,
these are kids then who are not remaining as active through their high school and college years. Um, Maybe when they get out of college and they go back and they join a health club and they need to be active. But it's really challenging to keep kids active and have them feel involved and have that hope. And so, we work with a lot of organizations in that space. The Aspen Institute out of DC has an initiative called Project Play. They host their summit next month. A lot of it focuses on the question of how can we keep kids engaged and active without this over professionalism, over commitment to one individual sport.
Yeah, the cost. I remember years ago, my sister, two boys when her sons were younger. One of the boys wanted to play hockey, and the cost for the equipment and the ice time and the hours and when you would go to an ice rink, you know, it's no interest, or it's no wonder why some of these kids lose interest, because of what goes into that. But so, how do you fund what you're doing? Are there events? Are there things going on that people can get involved with if this is something that is near to their heart?
Absolutely. There's a whole array of ways to get involved. I would encourage you to visit our website at sportsphilanthropynetwork.org. Um, there's pages for each chapter in terms of seeing what types of events are going on in that community, in that chapter. We do some national things this coming week. We've got quite a few events, a virtual mental health reset on Sunday night. That's a free program that's supported by some of our sponsors. So if you look on the front of the website, you can register for that. We also are hosting events um, uh, in Dallas for our Dallas chapter on Saturday. Next Thursday night, our Tampa chapter is hosting one in conjunction with the first round of the NFL draft. And on Friday afternoon in Detroit, which is the host city for the NFL draft, we're doing a fatherhood panel. One of the things that is a challenge in many communities is having the fathers remain connected and engaged with their kids as their kids grow up. And so it's something that we know is really important. And so as people congregate on different cities, as we travel to major events, that's one of the things that we try and do is continually add programming and learning opportunities.
Nice. Well, awesome, Roy. So tell people again how they get a hold of you if they want to reach out and get a little more information.
Sure. You can see on the bottom of the screen, my email is rkessel@sportsloop.com, running along the ticker there. Cell phone number 312-498-4653, or if you want to remember it as 498 golf, that's even easier. And then the website again is sportsphilanthropynetwork.org. We're really easy to find on social media, active and engaged there on all of the platforms. More content coming. A big initiative coming up for this NFL draft week is features on the draft prospects and showing what their pet causes are, because it's something that doesn't get covered very often. And I'll use the most recent example. Everybody followed over the last couple of weeks the explosion of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, everything that's gone on of what she brought to college women's basketball. We've been interviewing her for 3 years and talking to her. And despite all the coverage, everywhere we go, we ask people like, what's Caitlin Clark's charity? And nobody can answer that for us. And it's something that we talked to her about 3 years ago, and it's Special Olympics. But in all of the coverage that's gone on, right, that's not something that usually gets included or asked. And so that's part of our role. How do we elevate the profile of these stories of the great work athletes are doing to support these different causes?
Yeah, that's awesome. And boy, she's been something else, that's for sure. So, um, well, that's great. Listen, I appreciate you being here this morning, and always good to reconnect. You mentioned golf. Any golf outings coming up this year for your organization?
There will be. We're putting together a Sports Philanthropy Network golf tour and getting plans where we'll be hosting events in many of our chapters around the country. We've been wanting to make sure our chapters get off the ground. There's so many athletes that host their individual events, and so we have to be really conscious and coordinate efforts there so that we're not cannibalizing and taking people away from the incredible athletes that are doing work in their own communities.
Well, if you have anything coming up, let me know. I'll try and get back to Chicago for sure for that.
Fantastic. Thank you,
Hey,
Mike.
Roy. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you and seeing you this morning. I'm sure that our paths will cross again here soon. I want to tell everybody listening in this morning, reach out to Roy, reach out to, Sports Philanthropy Network. If that's something that's on your heart and you want to give back a little bit, I'm sure that he can use the help and the encouragement around that. Remember, we're here every Thursday morning at 8:30 Central Time, bringing some content, some information that, maybe let you look at something a little bit differently. So, everybody have a great week. Thanks, Roy. We'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. And we just want to sign off by reminding everybody